So I want to welcome you to what I call Stock Talk. And actually, since creating this PowerPoint, I need to update that. I call it Stock Talk 101. When I created this, at the time I was thinking stock trading, but I'll go ahead and update this before I do the next presentation. Stock Talk 101, and I am your host. This is basically just conversation for the beginner investor to understand um, stock trading. What I'm finding is a lot of people are trading stocks and losing a lot of money because they don't know the beginning or the intro information terms that they should know to be successful in stock trading. So for some of you may know me, some may not. So I'll do a brief introduction of myself. But before I do that, so I'll introduce myself. We'll go through some trading terms. I'll show you what day trading is, high level. I'll show you what penny trading is. If you have a pen and a piece of paper, there may be some people who are trading. I do share some of the stocks that I have, so I would say you can write them down, but I always tell people, and I'll speak on it when I get into the presentation. You still have to have a strategy for trading stocks. You can't just take someone's portfolio and use it if you don't understand their strategy. There's a statistic out there that says 99% of the people trading someone else's portfolio lose money in the stock market. And that's because they don't have a strategy for trading. So just wanted to make that clear. I don't have a problem sharing that information. There are some stock groups I'm a part of that have asked me to share it and I won't share it. And I know people are probably like, oh, he's funny acting, but it's not that I'm funny acting. Is that I understand that if you go and try and trade what I traded and you don't understand the method that I use to trade, welcome to the webinar. Please press mute as you guys come in. If you don't understand the method in which I traded, then what'll happen is you'll put yourself in a position to lose based on the statistics that are out there. Okay. So my name is Victor Coleman. Yes, I do have a PhD. I do not really use the name Dr. Coleman. If you see me on social media, I'll put it on some of my photos. And the reason I put it on my photos is this, to be honest with you. When I had someone tell me that I don't look like a PhD, I make it a point to let them know that PhDs do look like me. I've given the PhD a new face, if you will say. So anyway, I'm born and raised in Toledo, Ohio. TPS proud. I'm a graduate of Roy C. Start High School. Been working with the public utility company since 2005. Currently work in the governmental affairs sector. So I work with the mayors, the councils, the township trustees, and so forth around the state. I've been in this role almost 4 years now. I love what I do. And a lot of people ask me, wow, you still work? Yes, I love what I do. I literally work from my cell phone, and I get to travel around the region and attend meetings, breakfast, lunches, dinners, whatever, and just make new friends or new relationships, as I say, because I don't like to use the word friend too freely. Just build new relationships. So those who are on here, listen, let's stay in contact. I love to talk to people and meet new people. We all have a story, and it is in sharing our story that we help others go to the next level. I am a graduate of Full Sail University with a bachelor's degree in entertainment business that had a focus on music. I graduated from there in 2010. In 2010, also, I launched the VJ Coleman Flight School, which the Stock Talk is a part of. And really, it's just the coaching and mentoring, what it was coaching and mentoring, consulting, and public speaking at the time. In 2012, I launched the VJ Coleman Foundation, doing what we call One Community Clean, where we would go into a neighborhood and we'll organize a cleanup project to clean up the trash, as well as Hydrate the Homeless, where we would collect cases of water, ice them down on some of the hottest days, and drive through the community, just hand out free bottled water and talk to people. Everyone wasn't homeless, but it started with the homeless, is why the name Hydrate the Homeless came about. So if you don't know anything about me, I'll tell you this, and those who know me know that I love to give. Community service is my passion. I love, and I believe we all should serve in some way, some shape, some form. In fact, I'll say it now before I forget, I believe that everyone should give 10% of their time, 10% of their grind, and 10% of their dime to someone else. So we can help others get out of the poverty situations that they're in. So these webinars were part of some of my giving. There's other giving that I do. I've donated some coaching services and different things to help individuals learn how to live rent and mortgage free, to teach some individuals entry level to stocks, business management, things of that nature. 2013, I graduated from Full Sail University with a master's degree in entertainment business, again, focused on music. My dream was to work in the music industry. The more I interned, the more I traveled, the more I volunteered in the industry, the more I found that they were just going to use me as free labor, and I don't know that I would have ever gotten in. The challenge to that is I was a father of three. So being a father of three, you have to provide for them. And being the man that I am, I could not see myself leaving my children to only be provided for by their mom. Now, we could have made an agreement. I'm sure it would have worked out, but just as a man, it just was something that I couldn't do. So I had to reinvent my dream, right? So stayed with the public utility company, moved up, and went back to school for my PhD. And with getting my PhD, I got it in business management with a specialization in leadership. My research focus, if you ever want to read my dissertation, there's a link to it on my website. But my research focus is on African Americans that have had a Caucasian mentor. A lot of people, when I was soliciting for participants for the study, I came under attack. People were saying that basically I was saying African Americans can't mentor themselves. And by all means, that's not what I was saying. What I was simply saying was, as an African American in corporate America, I realized that when I looked up the chain, there weren't people who looked like me. So in order for me to grow, I had to be mentored by somebody who didn't look like me, they didn't walk like me, they didn't talk like me. And in doing that, I was able to build some relationships and I believe break some barriers where there were some racial divide in the corporate setting. So I built my research around that, and I plan to remain a researcher, build some models that help others become successful in that area. Lastly, in 2019, I launched a program called Flying Financially Free under the Flight School. It's just financial literacy courses, budgeting, credit, debt payoff, real estate, and stock trading. Real quick, I like to show my logo. Created this logo many years ago and didn't realize the power of the logo until today, till present day. I knew I wanted the logo to mean something. I tried to mimic the Porsche emblem when I did it, but I wanted it to mean something. So there you see the lock and key. And what that simply means is we're unlocking new doors. We're unlocking new doors so we can go to new levels, new heights, and experience new things. Welcome to the webinar. If you could please press mute as you come in. Thank you. We'll unmute at the end for questions. Unlocking new doors. If you see the book there, the book represents education, not just in the sense of college education, but just continuing to learn. Today, you're here to learn something new about stocks. And that's simply what my mission has been, is to educate those who want to be educated. But I'm also reading new books. And if you have a good book that you think that I could benefit from, by all means, share it in the comments. I love to listen to audiobooks as I'm on the road, traveling meeting to meeting, because it helps expand my mind and my understanding of things. I'm going to jump down to the group of people right there. Building community, building leaders. That's what that means. It represents two things for me: building community, strong communities, and building leaders. Because we need strong leaders to build strong communities. And I believe that I play a role in that, in serving in my community. So that's what that means on the shield. And I hope that as we build these relationships virtually, we can continue to build strong communities, because right now, more than any other time that I can recall in my life, we need unity in our community, and we need leaders that are willing to step up on the front line and help bring people together, even just in small groups. The next thing is the chain, and you see the chain is broken. And what I mean by that is we're breaking generational curses here. We're breaking bondage. We're breaking the mentality that we cannot have, that we cannot go to the next level. Flight School's motto is let's take flight. And that's simply what I want to see each and every person on this webinar and beyond do. So without further ado, let's jump in and talk about stocks. So the Flying Financially Free is about building generational wealth. And there's many ways we can build generational wealth. We can start a business. We can be a silent investor in someone else's business. We can have an invention. There's real estate investing, stock trading, option trading, day trading, or you can get an inheritance. So there's several ways you can get your wealth, or you can gain generational wealth or build generational wealth. Today, we're going to focus on stock trading / day trading. In the future, there'll be a presentation on option trading. I just did a real estate investing one last week, and I'll get some more dates on the website for doing some more of those. So I always say, listen, when you build wealth, it's like building a house, right? So to me, I have a big imagination. I drive in the middle of the night and go look at the biggest homes I can find. I found a big, beautiful one last night that I'm actually going to reach out to the county and pay for the blueprints for, because I would love to build a home that looks similar to that. There's some things I would change, but just the base of it, of what I seen, was phenomenal. So listen, money is like a tool, right? So just like a hammer, you can build a house, but also with that same hammer, you can destroy one. So we learn to use money and how to utilize money to our advantage. We can build a true solid foundation that will change our lives forever. A lot of my peers laughed at me for years after I got a little common sense, and I realized that, or got a little sense, I'll say, and realized that having the fancy car and all the fancy clothes was causing me to be financially broke. People laughed at me because I drove a rusted out Chevy pickup truck with chunks of rust literally falling off of it, and I'm hopping out in 3-piece suits going to business meetings with multimillionaires. But what I had to understand was it was a temporary space to get me to the next level. So I want us to understand that money is simply a tool. How are you going to use that tool? I want to equip each and every person in this webinar and that ever hears my voice, that hears my voice, to understand that money is a tool, and we really can do some phenomenal things with that tool. So prepare to use the tool wisely from this day forward. Thank you. Trading blues. So you may be here because you jumped in the stock market and you lost quite a bit of money. And I'll say it this way: you lost your ass. That's how I say it when I talk to people, because a lot of people are jumping in and they're just buying stocks, and they don't know why. So-and-so said to buy stock XYZ. Well, stock XYZ, why did they buy it? And remember, I just said 99% of the people who buy someone else's portfolio or buy stocks on someone else's portfolio are losing. There's another interesting statistic. 90% of the people buying stocks on the stock market are losing. Wow, that's huge. But I didn't understand why. And the more people started reaching out to me during the COVID situation, while we're at home and more people are trying to learn how to trade stocks, I found out that people were just trading stocks. They weren't researching the companies. In fact, they didn't even go and research the terms to get an understanding. So that's where the Stock Talk 101 came from. That's where the whole Stock Talk thing came about for me. Was I wanted us to start talking about stocks and become comfortable talking about stocks and the terms, so we can be more informed when we trade and make better decisions. Now, I never sell anything on these webinars. They are strictly free, but I will just say, simply plug this in. I do coach. I do offer a 30-day coaching. I'm not going, you got to go to the website to get information because I don't sell things here. So this is just simply to get us going. This gets us going. This gets us understanding what the stock market is about. So if you follow me on social media, you've probably seen that, wow, Vic is making $450 a day on the stock market, or Vic has made $500 a day on the stock market, or Vic has made $1,000 a day on the stock market, or Vic has made $1,500 a day on the stock market, or Vic has made $2,300 a day on the stock market. Vic has made $4,000 a day on the stock market, and even one day, Vic has made almost $14,000 on the stock market. But what people aren't telling you, see, people tell you about their gains. They'll tell you, hey, I'm winning, and we buy into this I'm winning situation, and then we go in and we lose because we don't understand what it took for that person to win, right? So just as well as I won, if you see here, this is a real screenshot of how my account went. I hit $68,000, and in a matter of 5 days, I dropped down to $52,000. Now, if you're able to comment in the chat box, Tell me, would you have jumped out the stock market had you seen your account tanking like this? How many people would have jumped out? Just say yes if you would have jumped out, or say no if you would have stayed in. I'm just curious to see how many people would have jumped out of the market when they seen their account tanking like this. And there's no right or wrong answer. Okay, there's a couple of no's, there's a yes. Okay, yeah. Listen, it's okay, you know, to have the fear and want to jump out, right? But that's the mistake we make. And I'm going to give you a real example of how I lost some money on the stock market, and because I didn't let my emotion lead me. I tell people all the time, remove emotion from your investing. If you have emotion involved, chances are you're going to make a bad decision if you have emotions involved. So no, you don't jump out. When the stock market goes red, you should be buying more stock, period. When it goes red, you should be buying more stock. And unless a company is closing their doors, you should not be selling off stock just because it decreased in value. Unless you had a strategy, which I use when I trade, where I'm willing to lose a certain percent versus the risk of gaining the gain of a certain percent versus the loss. So you have to develop your own strategy of what you're willing to gamble to win versus lose. But by all means, don't just jump out of the stock market because you see it go down. Literally, that literally happened to me in a matter of 1 week, that my stock account tanked. That's one of my accounts. All of my accounts tanked. I have several. This particular account tanked. And when you think about that, the average person would have ran. And I understood, that I wasn't running. What I simply did was I went shopping. Now, how many of you like to go shopping? Everybody likes a deal. When you go to the mall, when you go to Macy's or Dillard's or JCPenney's, when they had that red tag sale, you pick up stuff that you don't even need. Be honest. When you go to the grocery store and you hit that clearance section or wherever it is, you hit that clearance section, you pick up stuff you really don't need. But hey, it looks like this would be cool to have. That's how I treat the stock market. And that's how we have to learn to treat the stock market and understand that the red is simply a red tag sale. Go get what you can get because it's going to be green again. That's all it is. It's an investment in self. So let's talk about trading terms. Now, see, trading terms are critical. And the reason I like to talk about trading terms is I've had so many people as recent as Friday ask me if everyone could please mute their phones. That way we don't get any background pickup. Thank you. As recent as Friday, someone asked me the question about a term. And to me, if you're trading, you should know these before you do anything in the market. So if you've ever looked at the stock market, you've probably heard the term bull or bullish and bear or bearish. Now, what it means to be bullish, that means the market is on the rise. That means the market is having a green day, a good day. And that's when people, you buy, right? You buy when the market is, and you got to have the right strategy, but you buy when the market is going green. So when you run your stock charts and you run your different models and you see a trend for green, that's when you buy in, right? Now, when you see a trend for red after you've made your money, then you can sell off some of that or sell off all of it. It's all your choice. And I know you probably think, wait, you just said when it's red, you buy. You're right. When it's red, I buy because I run the models on the organizations before I buy anything. So if it's red, red could simply mean that it's just a bad day on the market. Every Thursday since COVID has hit, I think every Thursday has been almost red because that's when they release the unemployment numbers. Investors don't like high unemployment numbers. So typically on Thursdays, it's red. So typically on Thursdays, I'm looking for who is dropped because the investors don't like the unemployment numbers, and I buy into those companies. I create now, if they fit within my model, I create my strategy for purchasing and I create my strategy for exiting. And then that's where I find my success. That's why I shop on red. So the number one question I get is look, I want to buy stock XYZ. I say, okay, go in there and buy it. Well, I don't see an option in my account to buy. Well, it's not going to be labeled buy. It's going to say trade. Trade is a general term, which means to buy or to sell. And a lot of people think when they see trade, that means to get rid of it. No, trade means I'm going to give you money for that stock, or I'm going to give you this stock for money, you know, to buy or to sell. That is simply what that means, right? And I want people to understand that. Know what these terms are, because these terms are critical for our financial future if we're going to be in the stock market. Now, there's two more terms that I'm gonna share here with you. All of these terms are valid. You're gonna see them when you're in the market, but the top two I like to focus on. There's a limit order and there's a market order. I purchase 99.9% of my stocks as a limit order. You say, well, what's a limit order? What a limit order is let's say stock XYZ is trading at $1 a share. I want that stock. So I go in and I put in that I want to buy 10 shares of stock XYZ at $1 a share. And with the limit order, what I do is I will put in that I will pay no more than $1 a share for that particular stock. By doing that, if the stock goes up to $2 a share in a blink of an eye, which stock moves very fast if you've ever watched the market, then I'll miss out on the stock, but I won't be charged the $2 a share. Now, with the market order, that's what happens. You're going to pay what the market price is at the time that your transaction goes through. Just because you hit send at 10 o'clock doesn't mean your transaction goes through at 10 o'clock. Sometimes it could be as late as 10:45 or later, you know, when your transaction goes through. So be careful with that. Because you're going to pay whatever the price is at the time your transaction goes through. It may have said $1 when you placed it, but when your transaction went through, it was $2, and now you spent, you know, twice as much as you wanted to on that particular investment. One thing I try to tell people is remove emotion. I can't share that enough. Remove emotion, remove emotion. If you are looking to get into the stock market, you're probably nervous, which is a good thing, but remove emotion. You probably anxious, remove emotion. You're probably worried, remove emotion, and understand the market before you buy into it. Try to understand that, because if you don't, the market will take you, chew you up, and spit you out, and won't even say thank you. So a lot of people come to me and they say, Victor, do you day trade? Do you swing trade? So there's many terms. I day trade, I swing trade, and I invest. I do all three. I day trade, I swing trade, and I invest for long term. So day trade is when you buy a stock on that day. Well, here, I'm sorry, let me give you definitions. Day trade is when you buy a stock on that particular day, and when it goes up, you sell it. So here's the best example that I can give you. 10 a.m., you buy 1,000 shares of stock XYZ. At 11 a.m., stock XYZ stock price has increased $1. Day trader like me, I'm going to sell it off. How much did I just make in a matter of an hour? $1,000. That's enough money to quit my job if I can create that type of consistency on a daily average throughout the year. Right there on the stock market, buying some trades. And that's simply what day traders do. They look for what they think is going to be hot. They go in, they'll buy 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, let it hit, and boom, they get out the way. Now, when you get to the point where you're buying 100,000 trades of something and it makes that move, you're able to, you put yourself in a position where you don't have to day trade every day, right? And that's really where the key to success is. Uh-oh, I jumped ahead of myself. Sorry about that, back up. That's really where the key to success is with day trading. Really? I don't went all the way back. I apologize, let me back up. All right, I hit the wrong button and it just jumped ahead. Okay, so trading state of mind. You have to have the right mindset when you're trading. And there are 4 pieces of the puzzle that I recommend be readily available when you're ready to do stock trading. 1, you've got to have accountability, right? Be accountable take ownership of your trading. Don't blame the market or others for your gains or your losses. So I made an emotional buy. I knew better. Made an emotional buy. I'll say it again. I knew better. I made an emotional buy and bought a stock back on April 30th. People might say, well, why do you remember that date? Because it's the day that I lost the most amount of money in the blink of an eye. I bought a stock without doing the research, and I knew better, but I just was thinking, man, I don't want to miss this deal. Went in and bought that stock off emotion, and within 24 hours, I had lost $3,000 of that stock. The value dropped $3,000. I didn't lose my shares. I lost my value. Matter of fact, in the comment section, how would that have made you feel? Tell me, what would your how would you have felt if that were you? What are your thoughts? How would you have felt if you would have lost that $3,000 in a matter of 24 hours based on an emotional trade you made, especially when you knew better? Would you have felt bad? Would you have sold the stock? Let's go back to that original earlier question. Would you have sold the stock? Yes or no? I'll tell you what I did here in just a second with that particular stock. Some, if you've heard me tell the story, you know, but I'll tell you guys in just a moment. Yeah, you would have sold it. Yep. See, and that's what most people would have done. They would have sold the stock, to be honest with you. And I was talking to a guy I talked to about stocks the other day, and he asked me, he said, man, you still haven't sold that stock? No, I haven't sold that stock. I held on to it because I knew if somebody could push mute, I'm getting feedback. I knew that me purchasing that stock and losing was because of me. So I held on to it because I know the importance of keeping emotion out of it. But let's move to the next section. So the next piece that we need a proper attitude, right? We've got to keep a winning attitude. We got to keep an attitude that keeps our emotions under control and won't allow our emotions to get away from us. So make sure you have the right attitude, a positive attitude, a learning attitude, and keep your ego in check. It'll help you keep your checkbook in check as well. And then the next piece is keep it real with yourself. So I had to be so honest with myself that day. I said, man, Vic, you effed up. And if you know me and you know my story, I'm one that I look in the mirror and talk to myself. Now you can call me crazy, but it helped me change my life. That's how I hold myself accountable. I find a mirror and I talk to myself. Vic, you effed up. You knew better than to make that trade. You knew better. As many years as you've been trading stock, why would you go and make an emotional trade like that? Because I thought the intel was good, and I didn't even vet the person giving me the information. I didn't vet the information. I didn't vet the person. I just bought, and that was a mistake I made. So I had to keep it real with myself. I didn't stick to my plan. I have a strategy when I trade, and I didn't stick to it. For those who will probably ask what my strategy is, I don't trade stocks typically after 11:30 a.m. 9:30 to 11:30, I'm out if I'm trading. So keep that in mind. And the other thing is you got to be committed to this. It's a commitment. You're not going to make $1 million. Well, let me say it this way. It's very rare that you make $1 million on your first trade. There are some people who have been blessed enough to do it. I've heard of some recently, but they put everything on the line. I wouldn't recommend you do that. There's one guy, he put his whole savings, he lost his job, took his whole retirement savings and put it in the market. Now, he won, but that was a big risk that I wouldn't recommend anyone take. He made over $1 million on that risk. And now I will say on the flip side, if you want to win big, you got to risk it big, and he did. So listen, attitude, accountability, keep it real, commitment. Are you willing to be committed to whatever it is you want in life, whatever success you desire? I don't sleep like most people. I'm be honest with you. I went to bed last night at 3:30. I was back up at 7:30, headed to go work out, got me a nice hour-and-a-half workout in, came home, made breakfast, showered, and here I am with you. When I get off with you, I'm working on some other things. Like, I'm committed. Are you willing to be committed? Or do you want to sit down and watch TV and play the video game and surf Facebook and You know, whatever it is, are you willing to be committed to what it's going to take for you to be successful in this? Now, the market, it has to be in a condition to make you some money. And what that simply means is there's two elements that are required for you to be successful in the market. One, you've got to be ready to trade. So in my 30-day coaching, the first thing I recommend every student does in the program is you have to make sure your stock account is A, set up, and B, you have to load money on it. That's the first rule before we even begin talking about strategies or anything else. You have to make sure that stock account is A, set up, and B, you have to load it with money. You cannot trade if you don't have it loaded with money. You're not ready. You can't trade if you haven't set the account up. And sometimes the setting the account up can take days. So if you know a stock XYZ is going to boom today and you think you're going to jump in today, you're going to miss the boat and you're going to be upset with yourself. So make sure you're ready to trade. The other thing is the stock market has to be ready for you to trade on it. The stock market has to be moving and functioning for you to trade on it. Now, there's a thing called, there's the regular trading hours, and then there's the extended hours. I don't recommend, especially as a new trader, you get into the extended hours. That's when the market is closed, but it's still trading, because people run the market up in the extended hours because they know amateurs are buying in the extended hours. So let's just say 9:30 to 4, that's your regular hours. I trade from 9:30 to 11:30 and I get out the way. The day I made that bad trade, I can tell you it was 2:30 in the afternoon. I had no business making that trade. It was outside of my strategy. I found my success only trading between 9:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. Why was I on the market at 2:30 in the afternoon? I had no business being there. So the extended hours go from 4 p.m. to 7:59. And that's when you'll see stocks get run up. Sometimes they stay up, but some people do what's called the pump and dump. They run it way up, get you new people excited about it, and they dump it off the next morning. And they take your money when they dump it. So you're left holding the empty bag. I'll give you an example of a recent pump and dump, and I share this story of how I missed out on a $36,000 trade by a mistake I made early on. Didn't realize I did it. Lesson learned. I try and teach it to others so they don't make this mistake. Stock called Genius. I bought 8,000. I bought 3,000 shares at 80 cents a share. 3,000 shares at 80 cents a share. So all the early investors like myself and others who got it, you know, there was some who got in at 60 and 70 cents a share and so forth. They ran this stock up. This stock peaked at just under $12. So at 3,000 shares and it peaked at just under $12. That's $36,000 that I could have cashed out on. Guess what those others did that still had their shares? I sold mine off, but guess what all those people who had 3,000 or more shares, they ran that stock up. Everybody was jumping in at $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, $11, $12. And then those people who got it for 60, 70, 80 cents, they sold all their shares off and they left the people who paid $12 a share holding the bag. Within hours, that stock tanked. It went back down. So you got to be careful for the pump and dump. Only get in the market when the market is open, especially as a new investor. Please do not do all that extended hour trading. You can hurt yourself and more than likely will. Here's one more example and then we'll move on. Young man called me, text me at 5 in the morning. And those who get in my circle, they know that I'm up looking and researching, and I welcome people to contact me at whatever hour. That's just the weird individual that I've become. But nonetheless, he texted me. He found a good stock. It was trading for $1 a share when he got it. He sent me the screenshot. Man, it was 2 something at the time. And I'm like, don't buy it. We look back, it was 3 something. He's like, man, I feel like I'm gonna miss that. I said, please don't buy that stock. Please don't buy that stock. Please don't buy that stock. Here's what you do. Set an alert on your account. Set an alert on your account for when that stock comes back down to $3. Set an alert on your account for when that stock comes back down to $2.50. Set an alert on your account for when it comes back to $2, and then do the same for $1.50. He said, you think it's gonna come back down? I said, it will absolutely come back down. It's a pump and dump. So I begged him not to buy it. He didn't buy it. By noon, that stock was back down to $2.50. By the close of market, it was back down to $2. By the close of the following day, it was back down to $1.25. My point there is he would have been taken advantage of because he was letting his emotions lead him to buy in the extended hour, and he was going to be taken advantage of. I'm grateful that he was able to reach out to me and ask, and I was able to give feedback and save him that loss. I don't want to see anybody left holding the bag because people are shady and they run the market up just so they can take advantage of new people coming in trying to figure out how to make some money. Penny stocks. I am the king of penny stocks. That's right. I'm claiming it. That's my name. I'm the king of penny stocks. Penny stocks are anything, by definition, it's anything that trades for less than $5. I focus on those stocks. I really focus on the stocks that trade for less than $1 because I can afford to buy 2,000, 3,000 shares if it's trading for, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 cents, right? Like I did with the one that I accidentally traded before it was time. Administrative error on my part, but nonetheless, that's why I look for those. I know a lot of people get into, oh, I'm buying Tesla or I'm buying Apple or they're buying what's called fractional shares. Call me a hater if you want to, but the average person does not have $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 to go buy a share, let alone multiple shares, to leave it sit and hope that that stock goes up and makes them the return. So the return that they're looking for by buying the big names, I'm getting those returns by buying penny stocks. Now, penny stocks, they do have a little bit of a higher risk with them. That's why I recommend people doing their homework. But as you snowball, and I'm going to talk about snowball in just a minute, as you snowball your account to get more money moving, you can buy into the bigger companies, right? You can buy into those. But the average person doesn't have the money to just go and buy those big name stocks. They just don't. So I always tell people them pennies add up, right? Making those dollars from cents. I showed you the screenshots earlier of the thousands of dollars I made, and literally, if I show you my portfolio, or I'm going to show you my portfolio here in just a second, or some of it, all made off of stocks that were trading less than $1. Now, some of the screenshots may show them more than $1 at this point because they had risen to that point, but nonetheless, here's my example of what I do. I'll buy 10,000 shares of XYZ stock. XYZ stock raises 10 cents. I sell out. I made the same $1,000 that somebody else might have made trying to buy a bigger stock, and they had to put more money out. I do this, and I snowballed it, and my account is growing every day. Literally, I average now right around $1,200 a day growth on the stock market. Friday, I lost. Last week, I had a great week. Every day last week was over 1,000. And then Friday, I lost $1,700 of value on my long-term investments, which, again, is a part of the market. Even on that Thursday when things were red, I was still making money, and I was out shopping. I was looking for all those red tags, and I was cleaning up and getting more, but I still was in the green based on what I had in my portfolio. So what I call the snowball effect, you buy that penny stock, you buy those penny shares, and you continue to do that method for a while you start. So you may start with $100 a day, but after you recycle that $100 a few times in the snowball effect, before you know it, you'll have $1,000, and then you can make a bigger dent and you can begin to do more in the market as you snowball it. Anyone can get into the stock market and trade for pennies. There's literally a stock that I purchased in the market for 1 cent a share. I'm trying to pull it. I got my phone up, so if I sound like I'm pausing, I'm trying to pull it up on my phone. The stock I purchased at 1 cent a share. Wrong one. Sorry. I purchased it at 1 cent a share, and it's currently at 3 cents a share. I bought 20,000 shares. I'm up 30.55% on my investment. So my point is I'm gonna hold it a little bit longer, and I'm gonna move on to the next, because I've made money off of it already. That stock I told you about before I move on to the end. That stock I told you about where I said, do not sell your stocks when they're down. Remove your emotion. And now, if your strategy is to sell it because you lost 10%, that's different if that's your strategy. But I had no strategy with this particular stock I just bought in, and it tanked. I was down $3,000. As of Friday, we'll go back into this account real quick. As of Friday, I am up $1,200 now on that stock. So where I was down $3,000 on April 30th, I held it. And I looked at that stock every day to remind me of the mistake I made, to never make that mistake again. And last week, a week ago Friday, it began to rise. I was still in the hole, but I went in the hole 3,000. I was in the hole 2,500. Come Monday, I was still in the hole. I went in the hole 2,500. I was in the hole like 1,700. Tuesday and Wednesday pulled me out the hole. Wednesday, I was out of the hole $48. What would you have done if you were out the hole $48? Chances are you probably would have said, you know what? I'm selling this off, right? I said, no, I'm not selling it. I went and did my research. Why are they starting to rise? I went and did my research. No emotion. Just go do your research. And I began to research, and I found that there's something big coming their way. So I held it. Come Thursday, they jumped up. I was up 400 or 500, and like I said, now I just logged in. As of Friday afternoon, I'm up $1,200 on that particular account. But you got to remove emotion. You cannot do this with emotion. If you're using emotion to make these trades, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt your portfolio, and you won't be able to really make many investments. You got to remove emotion. I can't stress that enough. Like I said, the partner, he said to me, man, you really held on to that. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So that's been my strategy, snowballing. Now, I do what's called VIX picks, and I try to share every now and again some of the stocks that I'm looking at or that I have in my portfolio. If you have a pen handy, I'm going to share these with you. By all means, this is not investment advice. By all means, I am not telling you to go purchase any of these stocks. I will tell you to go research them for yourself and see how they can fit in your portfolio. But I'm going to share with you some stocks that have made me some money. And the purpose of sharing them is so you can see my strategy of using pennies to make dollars. So as we look here, I bought 2,800 shares of this particular stock, and it was a penny stock. I got it for 45 cents, 28. Look at that, I'm up. Here's another one, NEO. I bought it for $3.41. This is one of the ones I bought that was more than $1, $3.41. At the time, I was up when I made this. I was up $3,500. As of right now, I'm up $12,000 on this particular stock. $12,000 profit on this particular stock. Penny stock. They qualify for pennies because it's less than 5. Here's another one. Bought 1,500 shares of this particular one at $1.07. I'm not sure. I think I'm close to 1,500 on this particular one as well. Here's another one. I made $3,000 on Party City. Look how much I paid for it. 67 cents a share. These are pennies. Here's another one. ACB, I bought it at 67 cents a share, up $1,000. NE, I bought it at 16 cents a share at the time. Now, mind you, this is at the time when I made this. They're up higher now. I'm up. Here's another one. Look, I paid 3 cents a share for it. 3 cents a share. I bought 10,000 shares. And this one, I bought some more shares, so I currently have 30,000 shares in this one. But again, I'm up. Here's another one, Val, 33 cents a share. And I'm sorry, 33 cents. Yeah, 33 cents a share, bought 3,000 shares. I'm up $2,000. Literally, I'm making money on pennies. I'm making dollars out of pennies. And I want us to not be intimidated by the market, but I want us to understand the market. There's one more sheet I'm going to share with you. Ship is not in the plus right now. They're down, but when I got it, it was 13 cents a share. I ended up making almost $300 off this one, and I got out really quick. I still have some, but I got my profits and some of what I invested out. GNC, I made good money off GNC, but GNC filed bankruptcy. They're down in the hole now. I just bought back into them. I think they were 35 cents when I just bought back in. Eman, again, got them at 69 cents a share. Invus, they're up big time. I think I'm up $2,000 or $3,000 with this one now. Bought it in at 76 cents a share, or I was up. I sold some off. Some of these I've sold off, like Index, the second one on the bottom from the left. That one went up $2,000 profit. I sold out 80% of that. Kept some because it still had been doing good. But Genius is that one where I bought back in. That's the one I had for 80 cents a share. Sold it off by mistake. I ended up buying back in at 202, made my profits and got back out. So there's money out here in the stock market for under $5 a share. If you look at the bulk of what you see on my portfolio where I bought in, they are less than $1 a share. That ends this portion of the presentation. What time is it? Let's see. Okay. We'll do about a 10-minute question and answer. Let me go ahead and stop the recording, and we'll do a question and answer. 1 second.